Hey guys, today we're going to be proving that lines are parallel, and we're going to use a lot of the same stuff we learned. So the alternate interior, alternate exterior, but we're actually going to be using the converse to those theorems. So let's get into it. Understand the original corresponding angles postulate said if your lines are parallel, then corresponding angles are congruent. This is just taking it in reverse. If corresponding angles are congruent, then you can tell me the lines are parallel. So they're going to tell you, hey, 2 is congruent to 6, and they're going to say, are those lines parallel? And if corresponding angles are congruent, then yes, your lines are parallel. And that goes for all of them. You can read them forwards and backwards. And that's what these converse theorems are. So if you ever use a converse theorem, you are the one proving the lines are parallel. So here, because corresponding angles are congruent, the lines are parallel. Here, because alternate interior angles are congruent, the lines are parallel. Here, because alternate exterior angles are congruent, the lines are parallel. So using what we learned. There's one that I didn't show, so we did corresponding, alternate interior, and alternate exterior. And then there was that weird one, those same side, those consecutive interior angles. Remember, those are not equal, those should add up to 180. So here it tells you 3 and 6 add up to 180. So if 3 and 6, if your consecutive interior, if your same side interior add up to 180, yes, your lines are parallel. So just using everything we've learned, but kind of in reverse, now you're going to prove the lines are parallel. All right, so let's look here. Hopefully you remember what I told you before about covering up the stuff you don't need. If you're only focusing on angle 6 and angle 7, you don't need any of this stuff over here, and I can't really show you covering it up with my hand, so I'm just kind of scribbling it out, but you don't need any of this. So if 6 is congruent to 7, are my lines parallel? Well, first you probably want to point out your transversal, so our transversal will be line B. That's the one that's going across. So that means if any lines are parallel, it's going to be L and M. Are they parallel? Well, yes, because corresponding angles are congruent. So we're going to say line L is parallel to line M because of the converse of the corresponding angles postulate. Corresponding angles. It's a lot. We'll start shortening this postulate. All right, if corresponding angles are congruent, then yes, our lines are parallel. So definitely cover up the stuff you don't need, and that'll help you say, okay, L and M should be the parallel lines. B is my transversal. All right, let's look at another one. Suppose angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Are lines R and S parallel? Well, yes, these are alternate exterior angles. If alternate exterior angles are congruent, yes, my lines are parallel. So R is parallel to S because of the converse. Again, if you're telling me lines are parallel, you're always talking about those converse theorems of the alternate exterior angles theorem. I'm not writing all that out, though. As long as you had converse and alternate exterior, you're good with me. The next one says, suppose 3 is congruent to 2. Here we go. So 3 is congruent to 2. Well, 2 and 3 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are always congruent. So does that tell me my lines are parallel? No. So no, because vertical angles are always congruent. That doesn't tell you anything about lines being parallel, and here's a good example. Here's 2 lines that are definitely not parallel, right? Just draw a transversal. If this angle is 50 degrees, the vertical angle will be 50 degrees. So vertical angles are always equal. That does not tell us lines are parallel. Same thing with linear pairs. Linear pairs will always add up to 180. That does not tell us lines are parallel. The only four things you can use corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or same side consecutive interior. That's it. Those are the only four theorems you can use to prove lines are parallel. You may not use vertical angles. You may not use linear pairs. You cannot use anything else. It's just kind of a trick question. And then the last one says, what is the value of W for which C is parallel to D? So what would make C parallel to D? Well, we look here. Those are corresponding angles. If C is parallel to D, corresponding angles should be equal. So we're going to set them equal. We're going to add 2 to both sides. So we have 3W equals 57. And then we're going to divide both sides by 3. Oops, I didn't mean X. Don't know what I just did there. Oh, goodness. Sorry, guys. I'm losing it here. Here we go. W equals 19. I do not know what just happened. So if W equals 19, then both of those angles would be 55 degrees. Corresponding angles would be congruent. So yes, the lines would be parallel. Sorry, that was not our last one. Next example, it says use the given information and the theorems you've learned to show R is parallel to S. So they say 2 is congruent to 6. Well, if 2 is congruent to 6, if 2 is equal to 6, then yes, R is parallel to S. And again, I want that word converse because of the converse. Looks like those are alternate interior angles theorem. Now here you got to do a little bit of plugging. Wherever X is, we want 10. So 6 times 10 gets me 60 plus 18 gets me 78 degrees. And then 9 times 10 is 90 plus 12 gets me 102. All right, so here we're going to look in our picture again. Get rid of these ones because we're on a different problem. And they're talking about angle 6 and angle 7. Angle 6 and angle 7. So they're telling me 6 is 78 degrees and 7 is 102 degrees. So is that enough to say our lines are parallel? Well, these are same side. These are same side consecutive. They should add up to 180. So 102 plus 78 equals 180. They are supplementary. So yes, R is parallel to S because of the converse of the same side interior. All right. There's your work. Again, make sure you show all of your work. And I want to see that word, that converse. If you're telling me lines are parallel, I want to see converse. Highlight your pictures, draw in your, draw on the pictures. Make sure that you're marking, you're covering up stuff if you don't need it. All right, that's the homework. Tell me if you have any issues. I'll see you later.